Okay, so yeah, just like I just said, you can put this in your table of contents, success criteria 1.2. So you know where the notes are for this success criteria. And I usually label them with chapter number, and then this is the second one in chapter 1, so I've called it 1.2. You'll see when I get to the third one, though, I messed it up and called it just number 3, but it should really be 1.3. Okay, and what you're going to do is be able to compare and contrast the terms anatomy and physiology. What do they actually mean? Why is this not just anatomy class? Why is it not just physiology class? Why is it both, and why is that important? We're going to do more contrasting than we are comparing. And this is helping us with our overall goal to be able to communicate some basic concepts of anatomy and physiology as an introduction to this class. What was that face for? Okay, so what this is really about, you'll find that sometimes my Roman numerals don't quite match up. I type a lot of these 6th hour when I'm kind of worn out and going brain dead for the day. So hopefully we had basic functions of living things was probably Roman numeral 1, I hope. But so anatomy and physiology. What it really means is form and function. Anatomy is like the structure. So say what a body system consists of, or what does an organ look like? Where is it located in the body? What does the inside of this organ look like? The things that you would be studying through dissection is really anatomy. Now, physiology is like the how. How does it work? So, if we were just studying, say, the anatomy of the heart, we might look at where blood vessels enter and exit. We might look at what chambers there are and what valves there are. Whereas if we looked at the physiology, we would be studying how it actually works. What makes it beat? What makes it go? That's the how. So that's the physiology. Now, a lot of times, the form is dependent on the function. If an organ has to do something or a body system has to do something, it's probably going to be located in a certain spot or have a certain shape. The example I've been using a lot today between form and function, that the form is usually dependent on the function. If you have a screw and it's just got a little slot in the top, the type of screwdriver that's made for that you need to use is a flathead screwdriver. It's just flat, and it sticks in a little slot, and you turn it to make the screw go in or out. Okay. Whereas if you have one with like the 2 slots crossed, that's actually a Phillips head screwdriver that you use. Well, in order for the cardiovascular system to be able to transport things throughout the body, transport things to places so they can use stuff, and transport stuff away so that we can get rid of it, we got to have a certain network. We got to have a certain network of blood vessels going to certain places that all come together in other places. It's kind of like a really complex highway system. Sometimes I think about that when I'm driving down the highway on all my travels, all my commuting. We're really kind of like blood vessels and whatnot in our circulatory system, all merging together in different blood vessels or separating, going different directions. So anatomy is just the structure, and physiology is the actual function, the how it works. in order to really study physiology, a lot of times we have to actually do experiments. So anatomy can be done through dissection, as I already mentioned. And the physiology, we might have to do some experiments. You guys, I think, have probably done experiments where you tested heart rate when you jogged around the science department or something like that. Have you guys done that one? Seems like every science class does that at one point or another. We will too. Why not? So that would be studying what's actually going on, the process. Whereas if we wanted to just study the cardiovascular system, we would dissect, which should be coming up soon as those rats come in. Are you guys good with this page? I'll just kind of turn and get Michaela's. All right, so one more for today, and there it is. I told you I messed up and put number 3. It should be 1.3. But I can identify the major levels of organization in living organisms, and this is another one you've probably done before in biology class. So after today, when we're communicating the basic concepts of human anatomy and physiology, and you should know that too. If you went home and mom or dad said, hey, what are you doing in school? Trying to make it really easy for you. You could say, well, in human phys, we're learning how to communicate basic concepts of anatomy and physiology. Oh, yeah? What are those? Oh, well, so far, basic functions of living things, what the terms anatomy and physiology actually mean, and levels of organization. There it is. And if you know that stuff, when we take our first quiz, which I think is probably going to be Thursday. I was thinking every Friday, but that won't work with recycling and whatnot. So I was thinking Thursday, a little bit off microscope, a little bit off this. Microscope will be finishing up, and I'll be getting all those today, hopefully. Okay, you guys good with this? So here we go. All right, the basic level is chemicals. So the basic building block of matter is called the atom. And if we stick more than one atom together and chemically combine them, form these bonds, they make things called molecules. Okay, so we have those. That's our simplest step. We're made up of matter. We have atoms. We have molecules. But so does the wall. So does this countertop. So does the lab table. So does the floor. They have atoms and molecules too. We're not unique in this aspect. So even though this is the simplest level of living organisms, it's not exclusive to living organisms yet. It doesn't become exclusive to living things until the second level, which is cells. So this is normally called the simplest level of life. Because although the desk might have atoms and molecules in it, it would not have living cells. Could have living cells on it. But the reason why is so if we take these molecules, these complex molecules, and combine them, weird stuff starts to happen. They can actually perform functions. And they make things called organelles. And we're way down to the simplest level. And if you read about cellular biology and how the study has changed over time and how did it actually develop into what it is, it's kind of crazy. And you can go and look at the experiments where they try to just create life from atoms and molecules. Whoa. Starting to get into some Frankenstein stuff. All right. So we have cells, simplest level of life, and the reason why is because they have these organelles in there. Things like mitochondria, for example. All right, and so simplest level of life. Now, if we take a bunch of similar cells together, they make up what's called tissue, okay? And I just put an example here, muscle tissue, all right? Now, we can have some different kinds of tissues working together, and different kinds of tissues working together make up the next step, which is organs. And here it gets the numbering, it should be 4 organs, 5 organ systems, 6 organism. It was doing the automatic bullet numbers, and it messed me up. All right, but so if I take two or more different tissues working together, this one thing, that thing's called an organ. And if we take different organs that are all working together for some purpose, we call that an organ system. And these are what we study throughout the year, chapter by chapter. And we start off kind of working these levels of organization with chemistry in living things is actually chapter 2. And then from there we go to kind of cells. And then we go to tissues. And then we get to body systems where it goes individual, starting with integumentary system, nervous system, muscular system, skeletal system, working our way through. But we can have, those are organ systems. Digestive system, a bunch of different organs that are working together for what purpose? So we can digest things, okay? And then if we take all the organ systems that are working together so that we can have this living organism that's stable and everything's sufficient so that it can survive, we have an organism is the last level. Okay? Now, I don't really have one of those little acronyms or mnemonic devices for you to remember these by, but if you come up with a good one, please share. All right? But that's it for today. So, being able to say what is the difference between anatomy and physiology, the actual terms, and being able to go through the levels of organization in order from smallest to biggest. Biggest thing being the organism. Smallest thing being that chemical level. Smallest level of living things is what? Cells. Good. All right? So being able to go through that list. Any questions at all on this? All right. Thank you.